Welcome back to Stardew Valley. It's spring year 2 and I've set some big goals for myself. By the end of the year, I want to fully upgrade the house, collect every star drop, hit level 10 on all skills, and cook all the recipes. A lot of work? Definitely. But if anyone can turn chaos into progress, it's me. Let's jump into how spring unfolded. Spring greeted me on day 1 with an overgrown ranch in need of some serious TLC. I spent the day tidying up and planting spring seeds and mapping out a new greenhouse layout. It felt good to start fresh, but one thing stood out: I desperately need iridium for sprinklers. Farming efficiency, here I come. On day 2, I tackled chores and gathered wood for a shed upgrade. I swung by the secret woods to grab some hardwood for Willie's request. Progress was steady, but the to-do list just kept growing. The morning of day 3 was all about money. I fished, gathered coal, and chopped wood, trying to stockpile resources. That night, pumpkin juice sales took me by surprise. It was like hitting the Stardew jackpot. Meanwhile, Joja Mart got struck by lightning. Coincidence? Maybe? Satisfying? Absolutely. With enough wood collected on day 4, I put in an order to upgrade my machine shed. But the question lingered: should I prioritize the barn and coop instead? Feeling indecisive, I headed to the mines to work on my combat and mining skills. It was not a bad day overall. Day 5 had me ready to process geodes, but Clint was nowhere to be found. Instead, I made the most of it by leveling up in the mines. It wasn't what I'd planned, but progress is progress. On day 6, I focused on collecting more wood with a quick trip to the secret forest and the quarry. The farm was slowly shaping up, but at this rate, I might need to plant a small forest just to keep up with the demand. Day 7 started with a birthday gift for Mayor Lewis before heading into the desert with a prismatic shard in hand. No, Pam, this isn't for you. This is for the gods of the desert. A shiny new sword later, I was ready to toss it out in the Skull Caverns. Combat level 8 achieved. On day 8, it was all about wood. Again. But it paid off when I finally ordered the barn upgrade. Time to fill it with pigs and start my truffle oil empire. On day 9, I gathered more wood and hardwood while forging. Oh, and I stumbled upon Mayor Lewis and Marnie behind his truck. Nothing suspicious to see here, folks. I'm sure it's all business related. Vincent's birthday fell on day 10, so I gifted him grapes. Shane got his own pizza back as a regift. It's a classic Stardew Valley move. I tried tackling combat levels in the mines, but got sent home early. And the rest of the day, it was spent chopping wood. Day 11 kicked off with another barn upgrade order. I delivered jam to the raccoon and then got a book in return. That's a pretty fair trade, right? It was back to chopping hardwood and regular wood to keep the supply stocked for the rest of the day. The traveling bookseller was in town on day 12, so I stocked up on combat books and dove into the quarry caves to test them out. Higher level monsters didn't stand a chance against me. Day 13 was Egg Festival Day, and after finishing chores, I channeled my inner competitor and crushed my wife in the egg hunt. It's nothing personal, it's just how Stardew is played. Day 14, I finished up the chores at home, and then I delivered the last eggs to Gus and picked up a void egg from Krobus. It's a lot of eggs on this Egg Festival weekend. I need to remember to come back to Krobus for the star drop he has on sale when I have enough money. But for now, my mind is on pigs and oil presses for the next steps. The Calico Festival kicked off on day 15, which also includes finding eggs. Interesting. I beat Willie's fishing challenge and conquered the mines, but my trivia and race skills left much to be desired. I picked up a desert totem so that I could get there earlier in the day tomorrow, and maybe I skip my chores for this. The highlight of day 16 was getting the spouse star drop. After that touching little moment, I went back to the Calico Festival to tackle the mine challenge, but didn't quite make it. Tomorrow is another day, I guess. On the final day of the Calico Festival, I hit level 30 in the Mines Challenge and picked up another foraging book. Best of all, I reached level 10 in foraging. Now that's real progress. Day 18 was a foraging frenzy. Salmon berries and wood were the focus. I had enough iridium smelted to craft more sprinklers, and by the end of the day, I'd expanded my setup and felt ready for more crops. On day 19, I invested in pigs and filled my barn. After that, I headed into the Skull Caverns. Unfortunately, my festival luck had run out. Back home, I planted more greenhouse crops and called it a day. A bug slaying quest came my way on day 20, and I spent the evening in the mines hunting them down. Only 50 kills to go. What could possibly go wrong? Turns out, quite a bit. Day 21 saw me falling short about 28 bug kills. Is this quest even possible? Stardew, why must you test me? Switching gears, I spent day 22 delivering flowers and picking up a fishing quest. 10 fish in 7 days. By nightfall, I had caught 6. Not too bad for day 1. Day 23 was all about mining and combat, with a nice level up in combat to show for it. I hit the beach at night for halibut, but only caught 1. Still, it's progress. Day 24. Flower Festival Day meant one thing: dancing with my wife. I won't share her with anyone else, not even her dad. On day 25, I restocked wood and headed to the docks for that elusive last halibut. With enough money saved, I was ready for the next house upgrade. Day 26 started with high hopes to upgrade my house, but I was just shy of funds. After completing my chores, I decided to dive into the mines. Mining and combat were the last 2 skills I needed to max out, so I pushed through a few of the deeper levels. I'll be honest, it's been a few months since I played, and I needed today to reorient myself with the save file. Lioness and I had a heartfelt chat about his simple way of life, which was a charming reminder of Stardew's pace. Overnight, the shipments brought in enough gold to make that house upgrade a reality. Tomorrow, it's happening. Finally, with the funds in hand on day 27, I ordered the house upgrade. I want to get a few auto putters and sprinklers soon, so I don't have to make as many runs around the farm. I need to start saving more time. I'm still wandering a little lost, but I managed to get enough iridium ore to create 2 sprinklers, so now all my crops are self-watering. I do need to get more crops in the ground, but not until summer hits at this point. I did notice I have a lot of basic items I haven't put in the shipping bin yet, so I may dump a large load in tomorrow. Day 28 was the kind of day that reminds you why you play Stardew. I began with a trip to Clint's to process geodes on this lucky day, and the geodes didn't disappoint. I uncovered some new minerals for the museum. While exploring a hidden area in town, I stumbled across a garbage finding book, which honestly feels on brand for me. The day wasn't all about treasure hunting though. I spent some time preparing for summer by planting a few last-minute crops and finalizing my plans for the upcoming season. I even managed to squeeze in a little decorating around the farm, giving everything a more cohesive look. By the end of the day, I felt ready for what was next. Prepping for the next season always feels like a good idea until you wake up on day 29 and realize Mother Nature disagrees. Most of my hoed spots were undone, so I had to start over. Note to self, the dirt in Stardew doesn't care about your type A tendencies. After planting the seeds I had and tending to the animals, I decided to play errand runner. First stop, delivering a void mayo to the witch's henchman, which is officially the weirdest to-do list item I have checked off so far. That led me to the wizard to give him the ink that the witch had stolen. Rasmodius granted me the power to summon magical buildings. What does that even mean? I flipped through the wizard's book and discovered that I can invite the Junimos to live on my farm. Automation? Heck yes. It was too late to shop for seeds at Pierre's, so I wrapped up the day in the quarry, chipping away at the rocks and my mining skill. If all goes well, I should have enough for my first Junimo hut tomorrow. Here's to delegating Stardew Valley style. Disappointment was the theme of this morning. I know I had a farm layout planned. Keyword had. After tearing through all of my notes and folders, it's gone. RIP, carefully crafted farming dreams. So like any determined Stardew player, I took a few minutes, read way too long, to remake my farm layout. This time focusing on the animals and a ranch versus a farm. With the new plan in mind, I woke up to a pleasant surprise on day 30, a bigger house. I think this means we can have a baby now. I spent all day working on removing all the things I had laid down already and restarting the layout of my farm. I still have not bought summer seeds, and I really need to do that soon. Day 31 was all about clearing more land and making big moves, literally. I headed to Robin's to shuffle around a few buildings. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that moving buildings in Stardew doesn't cost extra? Robin might charge an arm and a leg for the upgrades, but at least she's not running a Stardew U-Haul service. Of course, it was Wednesday, which meant Pierre's store was closed. No seeds for me today. At least I managed to clear everything else that was in my way at home. With the path now wide open, I was ready to finish moving the remaining buildings tomorrow. Day 32 started with a sprint to Robin's. I filled her hardwood bin with the required 80 hardwood, consider that my daily workout, and moved the remaining buildings to their new spots. Finally, some order to my chaos. Next, it was time to hit the store for a seed haul. I stocked up on enough to get my farming land going, although I'll admit I was overly optimistic about getting a Junimo hut. Turns out I'm missing starfruit. No problem. I mean, I tossed some starfruit in the seed maker and planted a bunch in the greenhouse. Fingers crossed we'll have a hut soon because magical little helpers sound amazing right now. While I was in town, I picked up 3 more auto grabbers for the coop and barns. Back home, it was all about perfecting the ranch. I got the seeds into the ground, but my miscount made the layout look, let's call it organic. I'm also short 1 sprinkler, so it's not my finest work, but we'll call it a rustic charm vibe for now. Speaking of layouts, one thing I hate about the Meadowlands is how much of the land isn't usable for planting. I don't need a massive farm, but a layout that works better with sprinklers would have been a dream. I could get rid of the walkway for the Junimos in my main plot and scoot things over, but I just don't know. I'll have to experiment. On day 33, I worked on laying down some walls and finished what I could of my plan for the day. It's so nice that so many things are automated now. Sure, I can't automate the truffle collection, but I don't feel like I need to pick those up every day either, especially if I decide I want to spend some time somewhere else. One thing I do need is an auto petter. Somehow I will get my hands on one of those. I made a trip to the forest for hardwood to finish my quest. On the way, I stopped by the traveling cart where she had a picture of my beloved wife for sale. Unfortunately, it was way out of my budget. Bummer. While in the forest, I found a new letter from Grandpa. Always a nice surprise. I am still waiting for more rain because batteries are in short supply. I'll need some more soon. I spent my evening in the quarry working on my mining skill and it paid off. I am now just 1 level away from hitting 10s across the board in skills. Day 34 was a productive day. I started by gathering hardwood for Robin, though I can't shake the worry that I might not complete this quest in time. After that, I needed to catch a puffer fish for Demetrius, and luck was on my side. A fishing frenzy was happening. I wrapped up my hardwood run and headed straight for the beach to reel in the catch that he needed. With those tasks out of my way, I spent the rest of the evening in the mines, chipping away at my combat level. Slowly but surely, I'm getting closer to those level 10 skills. I got my morning chores done quickly on day 35 and set out to gather hardwood. On the way, I found Shane passed out drunk in a very dangerous spot. After making sure he was squared away, because what's a Stardew morning without some drama, I continued on to the forest. The traveling cart had a few treasures today, and I managed to snag a picture of Abigail and 4 combat books. Progress and home decor in 1 trip. I collected as much hardwood as I could, but unfortunately it still wasn't enough to complete Robin's quest. On the way back, I stopped by Willie's to check on the boat repair progress. I'm only one iridium bar short, so close, yet so far. With the mines on my mind, I decided to head in, thinking I could find iridium there. Turns out, I forgot, that's a skull cavern thing. At least I got some solid combat practice in, so it wasn't a total loss. Maybe I'll get lucky with geodes next time. Day 36 started with a visit from Shane, who stopped by first thing in the morning to thank me for helping him out. Today was also Gus's birthday, so I made a mental note to swing by and celebrate. After finishing my chores, I set off to complete a few tasks. First, I delivered an apricot to Emily for her quest, and then I dropped off one of Gus's favorite things, an orange, for his birthday. With my errands done, I took off for the desert caves, determined to find the iridium I needed for Willie's boat repair. It didn't take long to gather what I needed, and as soon as I had the ores, I warped home and shoved them in the furnace. By morning, I'll be ready to finish the repairs and get Willie's boat seaworthy again. Day 37 started with a surprise. The Millionaire Achievement. A nice reminder that all those late nights in the mines and endless farming is paying off. Abigail got up and tried to water the crops for me, only to realize everything was already automated. I still gave her an amethyst for the effort. It's the thought that counts, right? Next, I rushed off to Willie's shop to finish the repairs on the boat. With everything in place, all that's left is to wait one more day for it to be ready. Feeling accomplished, I decided to stop by Robin's to plan my next building upgrades, except Robin wasn't home. Of course. Now what? With no plan in mind, I turned to the kitchen. Cooking is still one of my goals, so I grabbed what I could from my stash and managed to whip up 25 different dishes. Unfortunately, I ran out of a lot of the fish that I needed. I hope I didn't miss any spring fish because my recipe book still has some glaring gaps. To salvage the rest of the day, I headed to the lake and then the river, hoping to catch the fish I'm missing. A productive day overall, but I definitely have got more work to do. The boat was fixed in the night, and I think I should head there as soon as my chores are done. I got my chores completed, making sure to save more produce for cooking than I normally do, and then headed to Willie's and Ginger Island. I accidentally scared a boy on the island, but I found a golden walnut to give a parrot near him. I decided maybe if I make the birds happy, I can make the boy happy as well. So the hunt was on. I ran around the island and to the volcano, past the turtle, and onto the beach, finding 20 golden walnuts. I've never been able to find all of them, but I do remember where a few are still. I then met a poor lonely old woman on the beach who gave me a photo to give to someone else. I found 4 more walnuts before I used my totem to book it home and to my bed. Day 39 was luau day. I started by tackling my morning chores before grabbing an iridium quality fish to add to the pot. Still, part of me wished I was on my way back to Ginger Island. I'm itching to keep hunting for golden walnuts and get my island house opened up. On my way to the beach, I made a quick stop to cash in a prize ticket, but the mayor's house was locked. Luckily, I ran into Kent nearby and gave him the photo the old woman had handed me. In return, he gave me some tomato salt. Too bad I can't toss that into the soup on the beach. Imagine the flavor boost. At the luau, I made my rounds talking to everyone before dropping my high-quality fish into the pot. When he told Mayor Lewis I was ready, Abigail whispered that we should run off together after the soup was served. Say less, babe, I'm in. The governor tried the soup and declared it very pleasant, praising the town's produce as always. Another win for me. After the party, I sprinted to Gus's to see if I could give him the tomato salt, but despite the map saying he was open, he wasn't. Figures. So I called it a night and climbed into bed with my girl instead. The morning of day 40 started with a mission. Finish my chores quickly and head to the island. I tried stopping by Gus's on the way, but it was too early, so I gave up and kept moving. Once on Ginger Island, I dove right into collecting more walnuts. Honestly, I've lost count of how many I've found since I've already turned in some, but progress is progress. I gave the Simon Says game a try, but let's just say it's not my strong suit. Since I only needed 2 more walnuts to unlock my house, I decided not to waste time there today. After hunting down a few more walnuts, I handed 20 over to the parrot at the hut, officially unlocking a place to sleep on the island. While Ginger Island isn't a main objective of this playthrough, a few of the produce I need for cooking comes from here, so I can't ignore it completely. I spoke to the frog in the mountain cave, who clearly has some interesting ideas about farming. After clearing a bit of land, I decided to try Gus one more time before the day was over. This time, success. Gus gave me a flower to deliver to someone in the desert, another quest for the list. Tomorrow, I'll focus on putting in for a building upgrade and seeking out more iridium ore for tool upgrades. Busy days ahead. Rainy days in Stardew means fast chores, and day 41 was no exception. With the morning free, I headed straight to Robin's and ordered the next coop upgrade. My plan was simple: max out the coops, build one more barn, then focus on upgrading the sheds and house, one step at a time. Next, I made a quick stop at Alex's to give him a birthday present. Can't forget the town's aspiring athlete, after all. Next, I was off to the desert, Stardew Valley rose in hand. Sandy was thrilled with the gift and gave me a remote in return. Naturally, my first thought was that George would love this, but mining took priority since I was already in the desert. Unfortunately, today was a bad luck day, and the mines didn't hold back. No iridium ore despite my best efforts. I did find a cool new hammer, but my current sword is still stronger, so it wasn't much of a consolation prize. At least I'll have a new plan for tomorrow. Getting that remote to George might turn my luck around. On the morning of day 42, I started by delivering a flower to Linus that he'd requested. Then headed to George to hand him the remote Sandy gave me. In return, George gave me an Arctic shard. Clearly, this is wizard's business. But first, I wanted to crack open all of my geodes since it was a good luck day. On my way to Clint's, I decided to pan the water and fished up 9 pieces of iridium ore. I swear I'm having more luck panning than I do mining. With this haul, I can smelt some bars and finally consider what to upgrade next. Clint broke open a few new things for the museum for me, so I made a quick drop off there before heading to the wizard's house. The wizard happily took the shard and in true wizard fashion handed me a worm in return. A worm. Not for me, obviously, but I figured Willie would love it. I stopped by home first to empty my bursting pockets. My storage is out of control and I really need to sort it soon. After a quick trip to Pierre's for supplies, I made my way to the mayor's house where I accidentally walked in on Emily teaching a clothing therapy class. I stayed for it, begrudgingly. But let's be real, I had other places to be, Emily. Also, was it just me or was my wife giving Shane a look in his new clothes? Finally, I made it to the dock where Willie gave me a pirate's locket, which could only mean one thing: back to Ginger Island. I handed Birdie the locket, and in return, she taught me about fairy dust and handed over 5 more golden walnuts. With only 6 walnuts total now, it's clear I'll need to spend some more time fighting, farming, and harvesting on the island to unlock the next area. I planted a few crops that the frog likes, but forgot to bring a sprinkler, so I decided to stay the night on the island. That way I could water them first thing in the morning. I spent the evening fishing for golden walnuts. Interestingly, I ran out of bait, but kept fishing and somehow fished up nearly all 5 ocean walnuts in a quick succession. Is that a hack? Fishing without bait? Before calling it a night, I cleared more of my island farm area and finally settled into the island hut for some well-earned rest. Another huge day of progress. Day 43 started in a different bed. Waking up on the island just isn't the same without my wife. After quickly watering the plants, I packed up and headed for home. I hope Willie was comfortable in his boat last night because the island life doesn't suit me without Abigail. Once home, I took care of the farming and the chores, and while sorting through my inventory, I realized I had dried mushrooms the raccoon had been asking for. I stopped by to deliver them and was surprised to find a baby in their house. The little raccoon family is growing. Stardew surprises me yet again. Next, I picked up a request for 100 bone fragments in 7 days. Perfect timing since this aligns with my combat goals. I headed to the mines to hunt down some skellies and walked away with 17 fragments. Not bad for a start. Between that and a trip back to the island tomorrow, it's going to be a busy week, but I think the quest is still doable. Oh, and my coop upgrade is done. I'll have to swing by Robin's soon to order the next one and keep the upgrades rolling. Progress never sleeps in Stardew Valley. Day 44 marked a milestone. Thanks to the steady profits of truffle oil, we are finally feeling fairly wealthy. Try saying that 3 times fast. No more grinding for cash. Now my focus was shifting to gathering more resources and maybe even expanding the farm with more animals. But of course, Robin was closed today. Why can't I ever remember her schedule? No problem, I thought. I'll just head to Marnie's. Except she was at Caroline's. The universe is testing me. On the bright side, I finally got to see Shane's blue chickens. I want one in my coop immediately. And thankfully, the animal catalog came to the rescue and I added a few new friends to our flock. With that sorted, I turned my attention to the mines for a quick session before heading to Ginger Island. I managed to grab a few more bone fragments and left before 4 to ensure I had plenty of time on the island. Once I was there, I planted garlic, set up a sprinkler, and decided to give the Simon Says game another try. Success on the first attempt today. Hell yeah. Riding the high of my win, I cleared more land from the island farm and called it a night in my hut. It wasn't the day I originally planned, but it turned out to be pretty productive. Day 45 started with some time on Ginger Island, mining muscle nodes and finding one more golden walnut. I'm hoping that if I return tomorrow, the frog will check out my wheat, another step closer to unlocking more of the island's secrets. Once I wrap up on the island, I headed home to take care of the ranch and then made my way to Robin's to order the next coop upgrade. Progress on the farm is feeling fairly steady now. Next, I detoured to the museum to give Sam a birthday gift before setting my sights on the mines. The goal? Collect 100 bone fragments needed to complete the quest. With what I had already stored at home, I managed to gather enough to fulfill the request. Even so, I still had plenty of hacking and slashing ahead to fully meet my combat goals. That night, I climbed into bed with my beautiful wife, feeling accomplished. As I drifted off, I dreamed of golden walnuts waiting to be discovered. Tomorrow, the hunt continues. Day 46 started like any other day, knocking out my chores so I could play somewhere else. Today's adventure began in the mines where I took down a ton of skeletons. With only 15 more left to complete the collection quest, the end is finally in sight. Next, I dropped off the 100 bone fragments in Gunther's bin before rushing to Willie's to catch the boat to Ginger Island. Once I was there, I had a realization that threw a wrench in my plans. I needed to finish growing the melon before I can move on to the other 2 crops for the frog. A total bummer. I was really hoping to gather enough walnuts to open the resort today, but no dice. Plan B, the volcano. I figured I'd dive in and try not to die. Easier said than done. I managed to collect a couple more golden walnuts, but I also passed out in the middle of the chaos. I lost a ton of money and a brand new tiger cap that I'd found in there. I wonder if the Adventurers Guild can help me out with that. Defeated but determined, I warped home with a farm totem after checking on the melon. It's still 8 days away from being ready. When I went to put my glow ring back on, I found another tiger hat waiting for me. Sweet. At least the day ended on a small win, and I got to spend the night back at home with my love. Day 47 started with the usual taking care of everyone and checking out the upgraded coop. It looks great, but my storage and machines are still a complete mess. It's time to separate them into 2 sheds and reorganize, but there's one problem. I don't have enough wood. At Robin's, I paused to give Demetrius a gift for his birthday before getting down to business. As expected, my wood shortage was a problem, so I picked up the big chest blueprint as a small consolation prize. Then it was off to address the town's global warming crisis by aggressively chopping down every tree I could find. With my jeans practically bursting from a load of wood, I marched back to Robin's to show it off. Now that's lumberjack energy. With the upgrade sorted, I headed to the mines to finish the bone fragment request. After a productive session, I turned in the fragments and swung by the Adventurers Guild to collect my reward for slaying skeletons. It's always nice to check something off of the list. Back home, Sirius, my cat, delivered a few more fish, which means it's probably time for another cooking session soon. With my buildings nearly finished, I just need one more barn. And the mine quest complete, my next goal is clear. Figure out how to upgrade my pickaxe for those volcano caves. I woke up on day 48 with one thing on my mind. It's Trout Derby Day. Obviously, I'm going to spend all day fishing and dominating the competition. Or so I thought. I started with my usual chores, but then classic me got sidetracked. Instead of heading straight for the river, I found myself reorganizing and moving my machines to the other shed. Honestly, my setup needs an overhaul. I really need to make more oil presses, kegs, and preserve jars, but that's a tomorrow problem. Once I finally made it to the Derby, I was ready to kick everyone's asses. Not only did I score a few prizes, but I also restocked a lot of my river fish, which is a huge bonus. Oh, and I got a new hat, essential for maintaining my Stardew aesthetic. After the Derby, I spent some time collecting wood because, let's face it, I'm going to need a lot more for those big chests that I want to craft. And with that, I wrapped up the day and headed to bed with my lovely wife, another productive day in the books. Day 49 started with the Queen of Sauce teaching me how to make pink cake. Is this my sign to dive into another cooking spree? Probably, but first I need more supplies from Pierre's if I'm going to fill my recipe book. After finishing my morning chores, I headed to town to deliver a few items to Mayor Lewis and Kent. While I was there, I collected a prize ticket and turned it in for some artifact troves. With my deliveries done and my pockets full of groceries, it was time to head home and get to work in the kitchen. I spent most of the day cooking up a storm, filling out more of the dishes I need for my collection. One thing I realized, I need rhubarb for pie. And since there's spring crop, I'll have to plant the seeds in the greenhouse soon to keep things moving. Later, I stopped by the raccoon to feed him and was rewarded with another new hat. He also mentioned expanding his family. Stardew's lore continues to confuse and delight me. Finally, to top off an already eventful day, Abigail asked me to have a baby that night. Are these things related? As for my storage situation, it's still a complete disaster. I think I'll save that project for the next bad luck day. This morning of day 50, I found myself looking for a baby, but there was nothing. When do they actually show up? Stardew isn't really clear on the baby timeline. Meanwhile, it is the dwarf's birthday. I still can't understand him, but maybe a gift will help. After picking my crops, petting Sirius, and feeding the machines, I headed over to see him. He accepted the gift, but our conversation remained a mystery. Maybe one day, dwarf, maybe one day. From there, I stopped by Clint's to have my geodes cracked open, then headed home to plant a few more crops. With no clear plan for the rest of the day, I realized I probably had enough money for a building upgrade. I dashed over to Robin's and decided to add a cellar to the house because apparently wine storage is the next logical step in my empire. Afterward, I raced to Willie's to see if I could make progress on the island. I searched for more golden walnuts, finding 2, but still need 1 more to unlock the resort. I stopped by to chat with Leo for a bit and then decided to warp home, mostly because I forgot to tell Abigail I was leaving town today. The melon on the island is still 4 days away from being ready, so it looks like the big harvest will have to wait. Overall, it was not the most eventful day. Day 51 greeted me with green rain. I had planned to hunt for iridium today, but how could I resist the lure of collecting all the green things? The animals were my first priority, so I cleared a path to their coops and barns. They seemed unfazed by the strange weather, just another day on the farm for them. With chores done, I turned my attention to upgrading my oil production. 10 new oil presses joined the setup today, and I have to say our money-making operation is officially thriving. Unfortunately, this upgrade used a big chunk of my hardwood reserves, which meant it was time to run around town chopping the strange trees for their occasional hardwood drops. Armed with my trusty axe, I went full Stardew lumberjack. Mother Nature didn't stand a chance against me and my deforestation efforts. By the end of the day, I had a healthy stash of wood and just under 30 hardwood. As an added bonus, I stumbled across 3 secret notes while out chopping. It felt like the universe was rewarding my hard work, or at least my relentless tree chopping spree. Day 52 was a bad luck day, and it also happened to be Willie's birthday. After knocking out my chores, I headed to the beach to give him a gift. Visiting Willie reminded me of something else on my to-do list, fishing for trash for Linus. Instead of tackling my messy storage like I should have, I grabbed my fishing rod and got to work. I figured I'd try to knock out 2 goals at once, catching the fish I'm missing while also gathering trash. I started on the beach hunting for the crimson fish, only to remember I had already caught it. Oops. Realizing my mistake, I switched gears and headed to the mines. Fishing on the right levels got me the stonefish and the ice pip, which was a win, and it also helped me reel in more trash for Linus's request. Back home, I cleared out the trash in my crab pots and added that to my stash, and dropped it all off at the dumpster for Linus before calling it a day. Tomorrow, I think I'll try fishing in the sewer. If there's one place that screams trash jackpot, it's probably there. Day 53 brought another rainy morning, so I powered through my chores in record time. With some extra cash on hand, I headed to the bookseller before diving into the sewers. Their stall was packed with new books that I hadn't read, so naturally I bought all of them. Now I'm only missing a few more to complete the book collection. Next, it was time for some sewer fishing. While I managed to catch the slime jack and the mutant carp, the trash haul was underwhelming. So much for the sewer being a trash jackpot. Determined to finish Linus's request, I spent the rest of the day fishing and setting crab pots. Back home, I realized I had enough trash in storage to help with his request, but I'll still need to fish up some. That's when I noticed I was missing all the ocean crab pot catches. A late night trip to the beach solved that. I set my pots and fished until the last possible minute, bait-free, hoping to snag a few more pieces of trash. Exhausted but satisfied with my progress, I warped home and crashed into bed. Tomorrow the trash hunt continues. Day 54 is Leo's birthday, which made a perfect excuse for visiting Ginger Island. After finishing my chores, I made my way to the beach and hopped on the boat. I brought Leo a duck feather. Since he thinks he's a bird, it felt fitting, and then checked on my island crops. The crops were ready for the frog's inspection, which meant I could finally open the resort. With that completed, a whole new part of the island opened up, including a mermaid cove on the right-hand side of the beach. The timing couldn't have been better. It was a rainy day, and the mermaid was on the beach. Unfortunately, I don't have the journal scrap that explains the music block puzzle, so that walnut will have to wait. Adding to my to-do list, I accidentally took the emerald from the green bird's shrine back home. Now I need to bring it back along with the bomb and some music blocks. Before heading home, I hunted down a few more golden walnuts, making some solid progress, and then I warped back to town to gather my supplies for the next visit. Ginger Island is calling, and I will be ready. Day 55 was a bad luck day. And to top it off, I forgot to check the weather for Ginger Island. I decided to head over anyways, figuring if it wasn't raining, I wouldn't stay long, just long enough to free the guy in the cave. Escaping my morning chores, I collected some trash from my crab pots to complete Linus's request before making my way to the island. Sure enough, it wasn't raining. So I had the birds repair the shop and then headed over to free Professor Snail. After helping him out, Professor Snail rewarded me with a few golden walnuts for answering his questions and donating the bones I had found so far. I wanted to break open a few more nodes and drop some items off at my hut before heading home to focus on things there. On my way to the hut, I ran into a sweet cutscene with Leo. That poor kid really needs some socialization. I'll have to figure out how to help him adjust. Once at the hut, I dropped off my items and warped back home for my chores. With my chores done, I turned my attention to storage. Bad luck days are perfect for tackling the mess, and I spent the rest of the day reorganizing my chest. It's a big improvement from where I started, though I'm still not in love with how everything is set up. I'll figure out where large chests will fit best, but for now, it's functional and that's good enough. Day 56 marked the last day of summer, and it came with some exciting milestones. I picked up a new recipe from the Queen of Sauce and found the cellar completed on my house. With that, my house upgrades were officially done. I can work on renovations now, but I'm calling it. The house upgrade goal is complete. Maybe I'll dedicate a day to decorating soon. After finishing my chores, I decided to use this bad luck day to keep working on my storage situation. First up, I moved all of my kegs down to the cellar, which is now the perfect spot for aging wine and cheese. Feels so much more organized already. I realized I was running low on wood, so I spent the rest of the evening scouring the valley for trees to chop. Stardew's forest may never recover, but my craft projects demand it. To end the season, I headed to the dock to watch the moonlight jellies drift by. There's something magical about this event. It felt like the perfect way to wrap up summer year 2, onward into fall. Day 57 marked the first day of fall, and I kicked it off by cleaning up the farm and planting the seeds I had already had on hand. Once things were in the ground, I decided it was time to gather all of my mining and combat-related dishes and head for the Skull Caverns. My tools need upgrading, and that means one thing: more iridium. Armed with food and determination, I fought my way down to level 25, munching through most of the food I'd packed along the way. My efforts earned me 14 pieces of iridium. Not exactly a jackpot, but it's more than I had. Midway through the trip, I realized I should have brought all of my bombs. Preparation? Who needs it when you can just wing it? The highlight of the day came when I stumbled onto a level full of dinosaurs. Not only did I survive the encounter, but I also found a new artifact for the museum. Even with the hiccups, it was a productive start to the season, and next time though, I'm packing more explosives. Day 58 was a bad luck day, so I decided to focus on the farm. First, I went to town to stock up on seeds and stopped by the museum to donate the new artifact I'd found. While I was there, I picked up a new skeleton piece for my storage area, because who doesn't want a bit of prehistoric flair in their decor? Next, I swung by Robin's to pick up a job to gather 80 hardwood. Perfect timing since I needed more wood for my storage reorganization anyway. With axe in hand, I spent most of the day chopping my way through the valley, collecting nearly all the hardwood Robin needed, and a ton of regular wood to boot. As the sun set, I rushed back home to plant as many seeds as I could before it got too late. I made good progress, but realized I was still one sprinkler short to fully cover everything, adding that to tomorrow's to-do list. Even with the bad luck, it was a productive day of groundwork for a great fall season. Day 59 started with the usual chores, and since it was an okay luck day, I decided to visit Clint. Big mistake. After breaking open my geodes, I didn't get a single new thing for the museum. Thanks for nothing, Clint. Next, I swung by Robin's to order a barn and realized I completely forgot about the hardwood I needed to deliver for her quest. So back home I went to grab the wood so I could then return and drop it in her bin. With that squared away, I delivered a quartz to George for his quest before heading off to chop more wood. By the end of the day, I had managed to fully complete Robin's quest. Feeling accomplished, I used my mountain of wood to work on the storage room. I even bought a workbench to make crafting easier, so now I need to figure out a storage configuration that works well with it. It wasn't the most exciting day, but Stardew is all about the little wins. Day 60 brought rain, which meant quick chores before heading to the beach with a totem. I planned to spend the day on Ginger Island and even saw Abigail making her way there to escape the rain. Stardew date vibes? Maybe. I brought some gems with me, unsure if I had seen 3 birds or 4 on the island, and when I tried placing the gems on the pedestals, nothing happened. Guess I need to come back on another rainy day to figure it out. While exploring, I broke up some mussel nodes and snagged another golden walnut. I also cracked open a few bone nodes, collecting donations for Professor Snail. Then I was off to the volcano for an adventure. I only made it to level 3 before realizing it was getting too late, so I warped home. On the way, I remembered I'd completely forgotten to check on the pirates since it was a dry, even-numbered day. Darn it, I'll have to make that my priority next time. Day 61 started like any other. Getting the chores done, heading serious, and checking out the traveling store. Afterward, I decided to take advantage of my lucky mood and go fishing for the anglerfish. First, I stopped by Elliot's shack for the first time and gave him a birthday gift. With that out of the way, I headed to the wooden bridge, ate a tasty fishing treat, and snagged an angler on my first cast. Next up was the void salmon in the witch's swamp, and once again, I caught it on the first try. Feeling like a fishing champion today. There's one fish I'm still not sure about, but I've got a few more to find on Ginger Island. Since tomorrow's a rainy day, it's a perfect chance to tackle the mermaid, gembird, and island fish all at once. The last fish I could grab today without heading to the island was the gobby. I went to the waterfalls and after a bit of trial and error, figured out the trick and caught one. With all that success, I decided to head home and work on organizing my storage. I loaded most of the necessary items into chests surrounding the workbench, and crafting just got a whole lot easier. I even built a farm computer for the first time. I can't wait to see what this thing does. Days like this make Stardew feel so satisfying. On the morning of day 62, Gus asked me for a lobster. Gus, I also need a lobster. Join the club. After gathering supplies, I ran to the beach to check the crab pot again. Surprise! No lobster. Also, I realized I was running low on bait, so I sprinted back home to restock before finally heading to the island. My first stop was the mermaid on the beach, where I played her tune and got my reward. Next, it was into the Pirate's Cove to catch a stingray. That's when it hit me. I can't finish this star drop quest because the one fish I couldn't figure out is a spring-only fish. Frustrating, but I'll keep collecting the others just in case magic bait works for later. From there, I used wild bait to catch a discus, actually two. Feeling good, I head into the volcano to try for a lava eel, only to realize it's in the caldera. And to reach the caldera, I need to get past level 3 of the volcano, which I haven't been able to do yet. Clearly, I need better tools. Maybe it's time to gear up for a run to level 100 in the Skull Caverns. One challenge at a time, right? Day 63 started with the Queen of Sauce teaching me another recipe. I really need to set aside a day for cooking soon. Perfect for bad luck day. After chores, I stopped by Marnie's and bought 2 more cows. I still need to ship a small milk, and with none of my animals having babies yet, I'll have to keep buying more. Next, I headed to Robin's to order a barn upgrade, with plans to eventually fill it with pigs. While I was there, Robin showed me her new hardwood furniture. It's gorgeous, but my focus was all business today. With the barn upgrade in the works, I decided to head to level 100 in the mines to fish for the lava eel and chip away at my combat skills. I'm so close to maxing out combat. Just when I thought there weren't any fish at all in level 100, I finally caught the lava eel. Another one checked off the list. Now I'm just down to 2 winter fish and 1 spring fish left to complete my Stardew fishing goals. Feeling motivated, I stayed late in the mines hunting for my missing dwarf scroll and battling monsters. It paid off big time. When I got home, I hit level 10 in combat, and another major goal for this 100 days was officially complete. To top off an already eventful day, in the night, Abigail and I had a baby boy given to us. Finally, it took so long, I was starting to think Stardew had forgotten about us. Day 64 started with a new morning routine, checking on Henry, getting chores done, and making plans. I had promised myself I'd cook on the next bad luck day, and I still might, but after spotting a few new opportunities, my plans shifted. First, I dropped off my pickaxe with Clint. It's been a while since I've given him any business, so he seemed happy to see me. Then I stopped by the bookseller, who didn't have much for me this time. Still, I picked up 2 books, one for me and one to gift to my father-in-law. Next, I checked out the cave that had opened up, only to find a new way to work on mastering my skills and earning more goodies from Grandpa. Just when I think Stardew is done surprising me, it throws in another twist. After all of that, I found myself with more time than expected and decided to finally tackle the last bits of my storage organization. By the end of the day, things were looking much more organized. I even managed to cook 4 new dishes before heading to bed. It wasn't the most eventful day, but it was productive, and those are the days that keep everything running smoothly. After doing some research, I discovered there still is a way for me to catch the legend fish, but it requires unlocking the 100 walnut door on Ginger Island. Looks like I'll need to hunt down every last walnut I can. For now, though, I decided to focus on beautifying my ranch. Can I just say, I still don't love my layout. The Meadowlands farm is not my favorite. Day 65 was a lucky day, so I prepared everything for deep dive into the Skull Cavern, only to realize I don't have my pickaxe. Classic. Instead, I switched gears and decided to hunt down some items hinted at in secret notes. First on the list was a stone Junimo statue. Finding it reminded me that I really should get a Junimo hunt. Oh, I finally remembered why I had been saving star fruit. That mystery has been bugging me for several days. Next, I tracked down a strange doll and realized I must have already found the mayor statue. Guess I'll need to check the desert for the next one. After that, I sort of wandered aimlessly, picking up wood, hardwood, and blackberries. Day 66 started with excitement. My sweet gemberry was finally ready. I wasted no time taking it to Mr. Cannoli in the forest, earning another star drop. Now I'm down to just 2 star drops left, the museum reward and the fishing one. I'm so close. With that out of the way, I picked up my newly upgraded pickaxe from Clint and grabbed a quest for a prismatic jelly. Despite it being a bad luck day, I decided to head to the mines to hunt for minerals, artifacts, and hopefully that elusive jelly. My luck might have been bad, but it wasn't all doom and gloom. I managed to find 3 dwarf scrolls, which felt like a win. Unfortunately, no prismatic jelly this time around, so guess I will need to try again tomorrow. Day 67 started with the ranch chores before I sped off to the museum to give Gunther the final dwarf scroll. Now I can finally talk to the dwarf in the mines. It's about time. Despite my excitement, I decided to head to the desert first since it was a high luck day. Turns out Stardew's version of high luck is questionable at best. I struggled to find ways down in the skull cavern, and before I knew it, I passed out after barely making it a few levels deep. I need a better strategy for next time. Refusing to call it a day, I downed a few elixirs and headed to the regular mines to hunt for prismatic slime for the wizard and chat with my new friend, the dwarf. Now that we can finally communicate, he sold me a book. It's nice to have a little Stardew literacy upgrade. I spent the rest of the evening in the lower levels fighting the easy green slimes and hoping one would reveal its true rainbow colors. No luck yet, but there's always tomorrow. Day 68 had me thinking ahead. Tomorrow is a rainy day on Ginger Island, and today is a dry, even day. Perfect for knocking out some pirate-related tasks tonight and gembird hunting tomorrow. I'd hoped to get my geodes cracked open since it was a lucky day, but Clint apparently decided to hit the resort too. Thanks for the heads up, Clint. There's nothing else to do, so I headed to Ginger Island early. When I checked the 100 walnut door, it told me I had found 85 so far. 15 more to go. Honestly, I've lost track of which ones I'm still missing, but I know helping Professor Snail is part of the plan. While exploring, I managed to guess where the other 2 gems belonged in the shrine in the rainforest, earning me 5 more walnuts. Later, it was time to join the pirates in the cove, and I played a few rounds of darts and walked away with 3 walnuts they had to offer. With just 7 left to find, I chose to spend my current stash on repairing the mailbox and the fast travel system on the island. Both are going to make life so much easier. Originally, I had planned to stay on the island tomorrow to hunt for the bird in the rain, but I managed to guess those answers, so I was free to leave when I was ready. I'll check in with Leo's bird for walnut hints in the morning and then head home to focus on other tasks. On the morning of day 69, Leo's bird let me know there's still 1 more walnut in the volcano. Armed with a warp totem for quick escape, I decided to head in and see how far I could go before my health gave out. Before diving into the volcano, I swung by the dig site and found a journal page there, then managed to dig up a walnut on the farm beach. Every little bit helps. I'm so close to hitting 100 walnuts. I know I'll also need a banana eventually, and for that I'll need a dragon tooth, which feels like a whole other adventure. In the volcano, I tried a new strategy, just run for it. And to my surprise, it worked. I made it to level 5 for the first time ever. There, I bought the Island Warp Totem recipe, which is going to save me so much time in the future. Feeling bold, I gave the bird some walnuts to unlock the shortcut. Then, somehow I made it all the way to the caldera. What? I didn't spot any dragon teeth for the banana sapling, but I'm still in shock I made it this far. The forge was a complete mystery to me. I've never been here before and I have no idea how to use it. Still, I found 2 more walnuts in the caldera and even opened the shortcut to the forge. Major progress. After all that excitement, I warped home, gathered my crops and truffles, and wrapped up my regular chores before heading to bed. What a freaking day. Day 70 was all about delivering the beets Mr. Key wanted me to deliver. After dropping them off, I found another note waiting for me, and this time he asked me to feed the sand dragon. It looks like it's time for another trip to the desert. Once I got to the desert, I fed the sand dragon its last meal, which led to yet another note directing me to check the wood pile at home. But since I was already here, I decided to shop and dive into the skull caverns. At the desert stall, I traded in all of my Omni geodes for artifact troves before heading straight into the cavern. I managed to make it down to level 38 before disaster struck. I made a mistake and got hit too hard, losing a bunch of my bombs in the process. Guess I'll need to ask the guild to fish those out for me. Even though I didn't make it to the bottom, I still feel good about how far I made it. Next time, I'll plan better, set up a chest in advance, wait for a good luck day, and dive in first thing in the morning. Lesson learned. Day 71 was a bad luck day, which made it a perfect time to focus on more cooking. I still have a few dishes left to make. I kicked up a storm until I ran out of sugar, which brought my kitchen spree to an early halt. Switching gears, I checked my crab pots for the lobster I've been hunting and finally caught my first one. On my way to deliver it to Gus, I stumbled across a new artifact for the museum. When I dropped it off, I walked in on Elliot giving a reading of his book. It's a cool moment. After handing over the lobster to Gus, I remembered I was supposed to check under my wood pile for Mr. Key's next clue. Turns out my mod doesn't have a wood pile, so I had to look up where to search. With that sorted, I unlocked access to the casino, though I'm not sure I will really need to head in there just yet. With no clear direction on this bad luck day, I decided to tackle a quest to kill 50 grubs in the mines. No need for extra luck for that task, it's all about persistence. I spent the rest of the day smashing bugs and making progress on that request. Not bad for a day without a fortune on my side. Day 72 was festival day, which meant filling my grange with something impressive. After finishing my chores, I found a nice batch of truffle oil waiting for me and decided it would be my contribution this year. In hindsight, I probably should have gotten the iridium fish again, but we'll see how it plays out. At the festival, I placed all my oil in the grange display and then made my rounds chatting with everyone. I wasn't really in the mood to play all the games this year, but I did want enough tickets to buy the prize ticket from the mayor's machine. Once I had that, I let Mayor Lewis start the judging. Unfortunately, my truffle oil grange only landed me second place. Lesson learned, next year we're going back to the fish strategy. It's fine though, I got the prize ticket and there's not much else I needed from the festival, so I called it a day and headed home to bed, ready to focus on tomorrow. Day 73 was a lucky day, and I planned to make the most of it. After finishing my chores, I grabbed my haul and headed to Clint's to have him break everything open. While standing there, I realized something. I'm not really friends with Clint. I just show up, make him work, and leave. Oops. Trying to fix that, I gave him a gen. He responded with a side eye. Well, fuck off then, Clint. Off to Gunther's I went instead, and guess what? Gunther gave me a crystallarium. That's what real friendship is, right there. After this point, I'm only missing 8 more things for the museum, which feels so close. With my pockets filled and emptied, I decided to take my luck into the mines. My goals, finishing the grub quest and hunting for those missing museum items. I didn't quite finish the grub quest today, but I got really close. One more day in the mines should be more than enough to wrap it up. Day 74 started with a nice surprise. Clint finally sent me a bean hot pot recipe. I've got beans ready and waiting for it, so that's a win. On this day, I finally bought a stable. Honestly, I don't know why I waited so long. It's been a game changer. Even though it was a bad luck day, I didn't mind since my main goal was to kill grubs for the wizard's quest. After finishing up in the mines and completing the quest, I collected a fat paycheck of 6,000 gold. Feeling accomplished, I headed into the Adventurers Guild to check my progress on the slime ring. Turns out I still need to kill over 300 slimes. Yikes. On the bright side, I'm pretty close to completing the bats, duggies, and soot sprites. Only about 200 kills left for those. With not much else to do, I stayed in the mines and kept up the killing spree. Lucky for me, I stumbled onto an infested level, turning my unlucky day into a monster slaying jackpot. By the time I got home, it was too late to do anything else, so I went to bed. And during the night, we heard a strange noise. Stardew's mysterious surprises strike again. Day 75 started with an exciting surprise. I earned the Geocrusher blueprint for clearing so many grubs. I'm thrilled to have this at home, though part of me wonders if Clint is just trying to keep me out of his shop. I can't blame him, honestly. There's also a new addition to my family, an alien incubator, so that's what the strange noise was last night. After crafting my shiny new geode crusher and taking care of my geodes at home, I picked up my truffles and realized something. I'm really tired of petting my animals every single day. I need an auto petter. And since the skull caverns are my best bet for one, that's where I'm headed. Despite it being a not so great luck day, I made solid progress in the caverns, but unfortunately I only made it to level 29 before getting knocked out. The hunt for the auto petter continues. Day 76 started with exciting news. My stable is finished and I finally have a horse. I have officially entered fast travel era of Stardew Valley. Since it was a lucky day, I decided to head to Ginger Island to hunt for the last few walnuts or dragon teeth I need for the bananas. While visiting Leo's bird, he mentioned I should help Professor Snail, so that became a goal for the day. I spent the day fishing for bones, digging up artifact spots, clearing weeds, and the luck was really with me because I managed to find exactly enough walnuts to unlock Mr. Key's walnut room. Huge progress. I just need to earn enough key gems to buy some magic bait and maybe catch the legend fish. The first quest available to me was to sell 100,000 gold worth of freshly cooked items. Perfect timing. I've got a stash of dishes sitting in my fridge at home. I'm not sure if this count as freshly cooked, but it's worth a shot. I warped home, leaving my poor horse on the beach. Sorry, buddy, and sold a bunch of dishes to see if they would qualify. I didn't sell everything just in case, but fingers crossed this counts. Tomorrow will tell. The next morning started with a message from Joja asking me to meet someone on Ginger Island. Excuse me, what? Joja, what are you even doing here? This is day 77. I also checked my sales from last night, and bad news, the dishes I sold didn't count towards the quest. Great. Looks like today I will be having another cooking marathon. The Queen of Sauce gifted me a new recipe, and I still have a few others I hadn't made yet, so I dove right in. I'm burning through my fish stash to make this happen because I need this magic bait. I took a quick break to visit the traveling cart and pick up a few goodies before heading straight back to the stove. I need to figure out how much I can sell all this for and whether I need to fish more to keep it going. My shipping bin was loaded with sashimi, lobster bisque, coleslaw, and other dishes that I could whip up in bulk. I even restocked my pantry with a trip to Pierre's before returning to cooking. By the end of the day, I made 29,000 gold from the fresh food sales. Not bad, but still a long way to go. I considered just buying ingredients from Pierre and making a ton of bread, but something tells me that would end up as a loss. For now, it's back to the kitchen tomorrow to keep the sales rolling. Day 78 started with more cooking. I might have to resort to the bread maneuver after all because I'm running low on milk and I'm still torn about dumping all of my fish into sashimi. But then again, why not? After turning a ton of fish into sashimi, I decided to buy 800 bags of flour from Pierre. On my way there, I dropped off a battery to Pam that she'd been asking for, another task off of my list. Back home, I used the last of my eggs to make 10 pancakes and then turned all that flour into 790 fresh loaves of bread. Fingers crossed this satisfies the key request because I need that magic bait. The horse whistle will have to wait for another key quest, but it's definitely on my wish list. With the cooking frenzy done by noon, I warped to the beach and headed to Ginger Island to see what Joja Fizz wanted. After trying every watery cave I could think of, I finally found him in the mushroom cave by the dig site. Turns out Joja Fizz is offering perfection waivers. Funny idea, but no thanks. This time I'm aiming to truly beat the game for the first time ever. To wrap up the day, I took a leisurely stroll through the volcano, searching for artifacts and walnuts. No rush, just taking my time, enjoying the adventure. When the time got late, I warped home and went straight to bed. Another productive day in the books. Day 79 started with me just 12,000 gold shy of completing Mr. Key's challenge. Not bad. I can make that happen today. After the usual morning routine of chores and cooking up some eggs, artichoke dip, and a pile of sashimi, I headed to Clint's. It's a lucky day, so I brought along all of my artifact troves and mystery boxes for him to open. I also picked up a prismatic jelly quest again and decided to head to the mines once I was ready. I descended at least 10 levels, maybe more. I lost track, but no sign of the elusive rainbow slime. At least my trip wasn't a total bust. I finished the digger kills needed, or is it Dugger kills? I don't know, to earn the hard hat from Gil. After picking up my new hat from the Adventurers Guild, I emptied my pockets back at the farm and called it a day. The rainbow slime may have evaded me, but there's always tomorrow. Day 80, I was still not done with Mr. Key's quest, but I'm close. At this point, the bread venture seems like the best option. I need about 9,000 more in gold, so it's time to get baking. I started the day by grabbing a leek for George's birthday and the iridium needed to upgrade a tool, and with those in hand, I rode to town on my trusty steed. First, I picked up 200 wheat flour from Pierre, dropped off George's gift, then left my axe for Clint for an iridium upgrade. Productive start to the day. I headed to the mines to work on my slime slaying quest. Unfortunately, I had no luck finding the elusive rainbow slime or red slimes I needed for today's quest. I suspect I didn't go deep enough for the reds, so tomorrow I'll start lower. The day ended in a rush. I barely made it home in time. If not for my horse, I definitely would have passed out on the ground. Another day in the chaotic life of a Stardew farmer. Day 81 started with 25 shiny key gems in my pocket, which means I can pick up some magic bait the next time I'm on Ginger Island. This morning also brought a big surprise. My first farm animal was born. It's another pig, which means even more truffle profits are on the horizon. Meanwhile, Abigail was practicing her magic and managed to disappear halfway into the kitchen cabinets. Stardew Valley never fails to keep things interesting. My star fruit was ready for harvest today, so I took the opportunity to get my first Junimo hut put in. Magical helpers, here we come. After placing the hut, I headed to the mines to hunt down the red slimes for Mayor Lewis and the elusive rainbow slime for the wizard. I'm beginning to think the rainbow slime must just be a myth. It's nowhere to be found. At least I managed to take care of the red slimes and had to race to Mayor Lewis's house to deliver the news before he went to bed. The day ended on a high note when I found one of my missing minerals in the geode crusher. The museum collection is really coming together. I'm getting so close to completing it. Day 82 began with a trip to picking up my newly upgraded axe. On the way, I stopped by the museum to drop off the latest mineral for the collection. And with those errands done, it was time to decide how to spend a bad luck day. Bad luck might mean more monsters in the mine, so I figured it was a perfect time to hunt for the prismatic jelly. I only have 3 more days to find it. Heading back into the depths, I landed on an infested level at level 42. Jackpot? Maybe. I decided to reset level 42 repeatedly, hoping it would finally spawn the elusive rainbow slime. Over and over I went, fighting tons of monsters and racking up the Adventure Guild kills, but not a single rainbow slime appeared. On the bright side, I hit my goal for bats killed and swung by the guild to collect my Vampire Ring award. Small victories are still victories, right? Tomorrow the slime hunt continues. The day started off strong with my Junimos harvesting everything for me on day 83. What a time saver. I really need to make the crop area prettier at some point, but for now, I'm just enjoying the automation. With chores handled, I spent the entire day in the mine searching for the elusive rainbow slime. Spoiler, still no luck. It is starting to feel like a true Stardew myth at this point. I left the mines early though because it's Halloween in town. I headed straight for the festival as soon as it started. The Year 2 maze was different this time, more challenging to figure out, which I absolutely loved. After navigating the maze and chatting with everyone, I called it a night and headed home to bed. Even without the rainbow slime, it was a fun and festive day. Day 84 began with a plan: track down the missing museum items. After finishing my morning chores, I stopped by the museum to see exactly what I'm still missing. The Queen of Sauce also taught me another recipe today, one step closer to having all the recipes that I need. Being the last day of fall, I made sure to pick all of my flowers before heading out. I'll need to cut down the grass later tonight to make sure the silos are stocked for the winter. At the museum, I figured out what I'm missing: sandstone, basalt, a prehistoric hand axe, the golden mask, and a strange doll. Only 2 of those are minerals. I can start opening Omni Geodes until I find it, and then convert the rest into artifact troves in the desert. Unfortunately, it is a bad luck day, but it's also my last chance to complete the prismatic jelly quest, so back in the mines I went. Determined to find the elusive rainbow slime, I scoured the depths until late in the night, but came up empty-handed once again. With time running out, I ran home to make sure the animals were set for winter. I stocked the silos with grass and then tucked myself into bed, ready for the new season to begin. The first day of winter, day 85, kicked off with a good luck on my side. After my morning chores and making sure the preserved jars and kegs were stocked, I headed to Clint's to process the boxes and my last geode. With that taken care of, I decided to head to Ginger Island. I couldn't wait to grab the magic bait and start fishing for my missing fish. When I arrived, Mr. Key had a new challenge waiting for me: find the family members of the legendary fish. Well, how could I say no to that? I picked up my magic bait and headed back to Pelican Town, determined to tackle both quests. On my way, I stopped by the sewers to deliver a birthday gift to Krobus, then started fishing. First up was Mrs. Angler. I caught her on the first try. Clearly, the anglers were the easiest to reel in. Next, I went for Legend 2, snagging it quickly before switching my bait to target the original legend. I didn't want to waste my magic bait if I didn't need it. After catching several Legend 2s but no legend, I started to worry. Maybe I needed to finish the current quest first. So I switched gears and went after Glacier Jr., catching it within a few casts. From there, I warped to the beach to catch the son of the crimson fish and even snagged the squid I've been needing for a recipe. With only the radioactive carp left, I decided to go for it, and on my first cast, I caught it. Quest complete. Not wanting to waste the rest of my lucky day, I went back to the original legend fish. I fished until midnight, determined not to give up, and on my final cast, there he was, the legend fish. Triumphant, I warped him and collapsed into bed, still reeking of fish but feeling like a true Stardew fishing master. Day 86 started with great news. One of my pigs had another baby during the night. Stardew's pig population is booming. I also woke up to another lucky day, which meant it was time to catch the final fish on my list, the glacier fish. I headed out first thing and, with my very first cast, landed it. That's the Master Angler achievement unlocked. That says a lot because I hate fishing. Feeling inspired, I remembered I still need eel for recipes. Magic bait saved the day as I fished off the dock until I had 2 eel, then switched to sardine fishing for another recipe. Next on the list was squid ink, and so after a quick stop at Clint's, I headed into the mines to hunt down some squid kids. I only found one, but it dropped the ink I needed for my recipe. I'll need another for the shipping collection, but time is running out, so I called it a day in the mines. Back home, I found sandstone in the geode crusher, leaving me with just 1 mineral, basalt, left to complete the museum's collection. Looks like the next bad luck day will be perfect for cooking marathon. In the meantime, I need to figure out who I still need to woo for those missing recipes. As I got into bed, Sirius proudly presented me with a dead bat. Trying not to alarm Abigail, I quietly removed it. Stardew pets always keeping life interesting. Day 87 started with a wonderful surprise. Willie sent me a star drop for completing the fishing collection. The energy boost is always welcome. After basking in that accomplishment, I took a moment to figure out how to get my missing recipes. It turns out I need to be better friends with Sandy, Kent, and Leo. The rest are from the Queen of Sauce, so fingers crossed that I can get those in time. There's also 1 recipe available at the island resort, and since I need a ton of ginger for quest, Ginger Island became my destination for the day. Before heading out, I moved my cheese press to the barns for better organization, made a stop at Gunther's to drop something off, and then boarded Willie's boat. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring a gift for Leo, and Gus wasn't at the beach resort to buy from since it was raining. Note to self, plan better next time. I managed to collect a few pieces of ginger and even found a golden walnut, but without gifts, I decided to head back home. Back at the farm, I unloaded everything I had collected and stocked my pockets with gifts for Sandy, Kent, and Leo, so I'll be better prepared for my next visits. Building friendships and finding recipes takes effort, but I'm ready for the challenge. Day 88 started with a plan. Buy the diamond book from the dwarf in the mines, but when I got there, he wasn't selling it anymore. Bummer. Hoping to encourage him to restock, I gifted him a diamond. Maybe that'll jog his memory. Next, I made a quick loop through town, handing out gifts and chatting with everyone before heading to the desert to give Sandy a gift. Our relationship has the most ground to cover, so I'm prioritizing her for right now. While I was there, I decided to check out the casino since I'm officially a card-carrying member now. While exploring the casino, I realized something. Today is day 200. If you made it this far in both of my playthroughs, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It truly means a lot to me. And don't worry, we're not done yet. There's still more to come as we aim for the year 2 finale in this episode. After that reflective moment, I stepped outside realizing I really wasn't in the mood to gamble. Instead, I remembered a journal scrap I found about digging in the desert, and turns out it led me to the doll I was missing for the museum. Heck yeah. Feeling smart with my time, I decided to head into the mines since I was already in the area. Big mistake. I lost track of my health and ended up passing out. Great. Not ready to call it a day, I raced to Gus's for pizza to heal up and then sprinted to the docks and barely caught the boat to Ginger Island. I harvested all the ginger I could and made my way back home. Let's just say I'm really starting to feel the need for some warp obelisks. Day 89 was another day of running around gifting things to people. It was a good luck day, so I wanted to crack open some geodes with Clint, but of course he decides to take the day off. Thanks, Clint. With that plan ruined, I headed to the desert for a quick visit with Sandy. After giving her a flower, I warped back to town and made my way to Willie's. Over on Ginger Island, it was rainy, which meant Clint wasn't there either. He must have been hanging out in the community center instead. I searched the island for Ginger, but didn't find much today. However, I remembered I had plenty of key gems to spend, and decided to buy the key of the city. Stardew Power Move unlocked. I wonder if it meant I could access the townsfolk's registers or tools, so I swung by Clint's workshop on my way back. Sadly, it doesn't seem to grant me access to work his forge when he's not around. Stardew giveth and Stardew taketh away. After that, I headed home, reorganized my gifts in my inventory, and called it a day. Not the most productive day, but the key to the city feels like a solid win. The alien incubator finally broke open last night. I really hope Concerned Ape expands on this rare mystery someday because it's such a cool addition. This morning of day 90, I headed into town at the same time Can was heading to work. After a quick hello, I hopped over to the desert to say hi to Sandy, then came right back. Getting to know Sandy and Leo is starting to hurt my wallet. Friendship isn't cheap in Stardew. I made my rounds in town saying hi to Kent, Jazz, and Vincent before dropping by Clint's to open my geodes. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything I needed, so I headed to the beach and caught the boat to Ginger Island. On the island, I talked to Leo and searched for ginger, finding my first golden coconut. A nice surprise. Since I was already here, I decided to head into the volcano. While exploring, I remembered the diamond book doesn't come from the dwarf in the mines, but from the one in the volcano. Thankfully, I still had my 10 diamonds on me and was able to buy the book. Another checklist item completed. I decided to stay overnight in the island hut so I could chat with Leo again in the morning and search for more ginger before heading back home to tackle tomorrow's chores. Day 91 started on Ginger Island with the usual hunt for ginger, walnuts, and coconuts. While exploring, I saw Leo hanging out by himself, so we had a little heart-to-heart. It's moments like these that make the Stardew grind worthwhile. Afterward, I continued with my tasks and decided to sit at the resort to see who would visit today. Specifically, I was hoping Gus might make an appearance. And since it was a bad luck day, I figured I'd head home to cook afterwards. My patience paid off. Gus showed up and I was able to buy the last cooking recipe he sells. A huge win for my culinary goals. Back home, I realized it was Sunday and that I could have gifted Leo something else again. So much for efficiency planning. I made a quick gifting run, and then I got to work on cooking a couple more plates, but I ran out of flour. Bad luck day strikes again. Pierre is already closed. Pivoting to another task, I noticed the UI Suites mod gave me an indicator for unshipped items in my collection. I spent some time digging through chests to find and ship those items. Late in the evening, I realized I still had a ton of powder melon seeds I hadn't planted, so I got those in the ground before crashing into bed. Day 92 was the Festival of Ice, which meant no gifting to Kent, Jazz, Vincent, or Leo today. I did manage to catch a ride to the desert before the festival and give something to Sandy. At the festival, Pam is still salty about me beating her in last year's fishing competition. She blamed her spot, saying it was unlucky. Naturally, I showed her that the spot didn't matter by winning again this year. Better luck next time, Pam. After basking in my victory, I swung by the trader's igloo and picked up a few items. Back at home, I pretty much just threw them down wherever. Decorating can't wait for another bad luck day. With the festival taking up most of the day, there wasn't much else to do, so I called it early and headed to bed. Another trophy, another successful festival in the books. Day 93 started like any other. Ranch chores, delivering gifts, chatting with the locals. After making my rounds, I picked up another job from the board, this one tied to Ginger Island, and naturally that meant a trip to the island was in order. My first priority was finding Leo and saying hello, and with that task checked off, I spent the rest of the day harvesting ginger and fishing for tropical fish. The island vibes were strong, and I stayed until late in the evening. Deciding to stay the night in the island hut, I planned to make my rounds here in the morning before heading back home. A productive day with more progress on the job board quest, Stardew multitasking at its finest. The morning of day 94 started strong as I finished Willie's fishing request, earning myself some extra gold. I even picked up some flounder, which I needed for a cooking dish. But reality hit hard. I don't think I'll be able to finish all the cooking recipes. Without a banana tree or a couple of other crops, or even their seeds, I'm falling short. Still, I'm determined to make as many dishes as I can. Back home, I set out to cook my flounder dish and accidentally shipped the flounder instead. Perfect. Guess I'm back to the Pirate's Cove for more fishing. In the late afternoon, I headed to the desert to exchange some of my Omni geodes for artifact troves. Now I just need a good luck day with Clint actually at his forge to crack them open and hopefully complete my museum collection. Before wrapping up the day, I made my rounds chatting up my new friends in the hopes of scoring their family recipes. I picked up my fishing price ticket and waited for Shane to leave the island. It's not weird at all. Except I wasn't even looking for Shane. I was after the other moody emotional guy, Sebastian. Luckily, I found Sebastian and gifted him a diamond for his birthday. Stardew's version of the perfect birthday gift, right? After that, I called it an early night and headed to bed. Day 95 began with the bookseller in town, assigned to spend some of my hard-earned gold. But first, I stopped by Robin's to see what improvements I could make. Pam's house is an option, but it's expensive and would take a ton of wood. I need to think on that one. At the bookseller, I hit the jackpot, a Queen of Sauce cookbook. With it, I learned the last 2 recipes I needed from the Queen, a sweet victory for my cooking goals. It was a semi-lucky day, so I took all my geodes and troves to Clint to see what treasures he could unearth. Unfortunately, none of the artifacts I needed for the museum showed up, but I did get an artifact for Professor Snail and a golden walnut. I guess it's time to head to Ginger Island. Once there, I said hi to Leo and made my usual rounds. To my surprise, my donation to Professor Snail earned me my first banana tree sapling. I planted it on the island right away. Feeling accomplished, I made my way into the depths of the volcano to finish my day. I finally found my first dragon tooth, another major win. I had planned to stay on the island overnight, but I got so caught up in exploring the volcano and lost track of time. With minutes to spare, I used a warp totem to make it home in time for bed. On the bright side, I found an island warp totem while exploring the volcano, so next time getting back there will be even easier. It was a bad luck day on day 96, but I had a plan. Say hi to everyone, collect ginger, and still make it home early enough to work on my house. Totems were going to be my best friend today. First stop, the desert, to say hi to Sandy. From there, I warped to Ginger Island, ran around collecting ginger, and made sure to say hi to Leo. With those tasks done, I warped to the mountains. I realized I was out of honey and farm totems. So I hopped on the minecart to the bus stop and reunited with my trusty horse Grover and made it home before 3 p.m. With plenty of time left in the day, it was time to fiddle with my house decorations. I almost forgot I needed to grab Robin's furniture catalog, but luckily I made it to her shop before closing. While I was there, I also bought all of her remaining crafting recipes. I might as well knock these out. The rest of the night was spent designing and rearranging my kitchen. It's starting to come together, but Stardew's decorating options might keep me up late at night again tomorrow. Day 97 was all about working on my house. I don't think I've ever tried designing a house all at once before. It's a little overwhelming. Having the catalogs is a game changer, but with so many options, it almost feels harder. I started with the living room, making sure to include a Christmas tree since it's winter. I gotta keep the festive spirit alive. Once that was done, I moved on to the kids' room. It felt like the next logical priority. And would you believe, Abigail didn't help me at all. Not a single suggestion, no furniture placement ideas, nothing. At least the house is slowly coming together, even if it takes me all day to make the decisions. Day 98 was another full day of working in the house. It's definitely looking much cuter now, and I feel like I'm done, for the time being at least. The kids' room still needs a bit of work though. I have ideas, but that crib is really cramping my design plans. If only I could get rid of it, I could finally make the room look exactly how I want. For now, it's a waiting game, but the rest of the house feels cozy and complete. After spending 2 days decorating, I decided it was time to splurge on home renovations on day 99. I went over to Robin's and added a bunch of new rooms. Why stop now, right? Decorating will have to wait though, because today's to-do list was all about saying hello to the people and harvesting ginger. First up, Sandy's, where I brought her a flower. Then I visited Kent and Vincent before dropping off another flower with Jazz. With my social rounds complete, I was ready to head to Ginger Island. On my way to Willie's, I noticed the night market setting up. Change of plans. I'm not staying at Ginger Island tonight. I'm hitting the night market. Once on the island, I found Leo and gifted him a duck feather. Then I went ginger hunting with a huge patch near Professor Snail's tent, helping me hit my goal and complete the quest. With that done, I rushed to Pelican Town for some night market fun. At the market, I scored 2 of the seeds I need to finish my dishes, kale and blue jazz. Huge win. I skipped the mermaid show this time. I can catch her whenever it rains now, and headed home to plant my seeds in my greenhouse. Before calling it a night, I took a quick look at the new renovations Robin magically added to the house. Satisfied with the progress, I joined Abigail in our cozy bedroom to wrap up a busy and productive day. On the morning of day 100, Abigail asked me for a slime hutch. Seriously, I just spent so much money on renovations. I wasn't sure if it was even possible, but hey, my wife gets what she wants, even if it's the ugly monster-raising building. After taking stock of my supplies, I headed to Robin's. Thankfully, I had enough resources to get the hutch built. Good thing I have a cute building mod that changes its look. With that taken care of, our farm is officially expanding into monster territory. Today was another bad luck day, so after securing the hutch, I focused on finishing up more cooking. The oak resin had come in, so I made some additional kegs for the cellar, then dashed to town to pick up the flour I needed for some recipes. Back home, I whipped up some bruschetta, only to realize I was out of sugar too. Cue another mad dash to Pierre's before he closed. After all of the running around, I cooked everything I could, but still need squid ink and flour for one dish. The rest of the recipes are either inaccessible or ones I haven't learned yet. With the cooking frenzy done, I set out to visit my new friends and deliver gifts. Everyone but Leo got one today. Then it was off to the night market to check out the stalls, which had a few interesting items but nothing groundbreaking. To end the day, I went into the mines to hunt squid kids for the ink I needed. On the first level, I got 1 ink drop. Hell yeah. By the 3rd level, I had another. Not bad for a so-called unlucky day. Back home, I used ingredients from the night market and the mines to make 2 more dishes before heading to bed. A fitting end to my day 100. Productive, chaotic, and a little lucky after all. Day 101 started with an okay feeling. Not bad, but definitely not my usual lucky self. After finishing my chores and saying my hellos around town, I decided to head to the mines and hunt for magma geodes. I still need basalt for the museum, and it's starting to feel like a Stardew scavenger hunt. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on my side, and after hours in the mine, I came away with just 1 magma geode. Not ideal. By 7 p.m., I made my way to the night market, hoping for something exciting. Of course, the trader had a retro catalog I couldn't buy. My spending spree lately left me strapped for cash. Oh well, maybe next time. I left the market empty-handed and feeling a little bit defeated. Back home, I decided to end the day on a creative note. I turned one of my rooms into an aquarium. Now I have a dedicated space to display all the cool fish I have caught. Stardew may have its ups and downs, but at least my house is looking amazing. On day 102, first thing in the morning, Abigail asked me if she could redecorate. We might be headed for divorce. I draw the line at the slime hutch. She's already got that. Speaking of which, the hutch is finally finished and Marlin showed up to check it out. He even gave me my first slime egg to get things started. Stardew's newest slime ranch is officially in business. Today was a lucky day, and while panning on my own farm, I found the lucky ring. Jackpot. With all these rings piling up, I really need to figure out how to combine them for maximum power. With good luck on my side, I decided it was time for Skull Cavern or a Skull Caverns run. I need geodes, and I still haven't made it to level 100, so why not aim for both? On floor 1, I hit a jackpot with a shaft that led me to a level with a chest, and inside was an auto petter. Finally, my starter chores are about to get much easier. Unfortunately, my good luck streak didn't last. I made the classic mistake of eating too close to the ladder and accidentally exited the mines. When I went back in, my luck had turned and I ended up passing out. To salvage the day, I headed to the town mines instead. By the end of the evening, I'd found 14 geodes. Fingers crossed that the mineral I need is in one of them. I started with the usual farm chores on day 103, but this time I placed the new auto petter in the fullest coop. Fewer pats for me. Stardew efficiency unlocked. Gus sent a request for a coconut, which meant a trip to the islands to track him down. But before making the delivery, Willie and I had a big moment. We introduced Leo to Lioness and convinced Leo to move to Pelican Town. No more living alone for him. Plus, this makes building our friendship a whole lot easier. After delivering the coconut to Gus and checking for golden walnuts, I caught the last ferry back home. Once there, I added some safety equipment to the slime hutch. I'm not sure if it's actually necessary, but the last thing I want to do is battle my own slimes. The one thing I don't know yet is what they eat. I haven't figured out how to keep them happy. For now, they're safe, I'm safe, and the ranch just got a little more chaotic. Day 104 started with a productive visit to Kent and the local kids, all in one go. Efficient and friendly. After that, I headed to the desert to say hi to Sandy. I'm determined to beat Emily as her best friend. It's practically a competition at this point. While I was there, I peeked into the Skull Caverns, but didn't feel prepared to do a full dive. My only quest right now is to reach level 100, but honestly, I feel undergeared for that challenge. Next, I swung by the Adventurers Guild to visit Gil. I'd completed another monster killing task, and he rewarded me with a ring. Speaking of rings, I want to craft an iridium band soon, but I still don't have enough iridium for it. While I was there, I checked my monster eradication goals and realized I was close to finishing the slime task, which would get me the coveted slime ring. That sent me into the local mines to complete it. I headed into the ice levels to take out soot sprites as well, and ended up completing both monster hunts. Now I have the slime ring and the burglar ring, 2 big wins in one day. The only monster left is the void spirits, but since they don't spawn in large numbers, that'll probably take some time. Back home, I realized I had a slime egg in my pocket, and the slime ring equipped, I no longer need the safety measures I had set up in the slime hutch. I also figured out that they need water to survive, so I rearranged things in the hutch before calling it a night. If tomorrow's a lucky day, it's back to the Skull Caverns for another attempt. Day 105 started with some exciting news. My first slime was born. He's just a cute little guy, waiting around in the little slime hutch like he owns the place. Since it's a bad luck day, I decided to skip the Skull Caverns and focus on socializing. I found Kent quickly, but Leo had already made his way back to the island. That kid has some serious travel skills. While looking for a flower to gift Sandy, I stopped by Robin's and decided to order an attic for the house. Storage space is always a good investment, right? With the day's luck working against me, I headed home to focus on cooking and decorating. Most of my time was spent working on the attic. I wanted it to look like a proper storage space, full of all the weird and wonderful things I've collected along the way, but distinct from a trophy room I plan to build soon. For now, the setup feels pretty satisfying, though I'll probably shift things around once I start curating the trophy room. Stardew decorating is always a work in progress, but today's results are a solid step forward. Day 106 greeted me with a lucky day, perfect for spelunking in the Skull Caverns. Cue the montage of all of my adventures and mishaps as I descend into the chaos below. Unfortunately, I only made it to level 66, the deepest I've gone so far, but still not enough to hit level 100. On the bright side, I collected a ton of iridium, which means I can finally craft an iridium band. This might just be the game changer I need for future cavern dives. With each attempt, I'm getting a little closer to that elusive 100th level. Day 107 brought another lucky day, and I was hoping Clint would be working. I've got a pile of geodes and troves to crack open in the hopes of finding the last museum items I need. I thought I had everything for the iridium band, but I'm missing 50 solar essences. Of course. Krobus sells some though, so a visit to him made the to-do list. Thankfully, Clint was open today. He broke open my stash and I found the golden mask I was missing for the museum. Only 2 items left now, 1 artifact and 1 mineral. I'm so heckin' close. Next, I headed to the sewers to see Krobus. While I was there, I stumbled upon him fighting with the dwarf. Rasmodius stepped in to break it up, so I stayed out of it. Stardew drama is way above my pay grade. After grabbing 10 solar essences from Krobus, I left to tackle the rest of the day. Since I still need 1 mineral and Robin is asking for 1,000 stone, I spent the afternoon scouring for artifact spots around town before heading into the mines. The mines are perfect for stone, geodes, and solar essences, so it's multitasking at its finest. On level 1, I found a golden mystery box. What is that? Stardew always keeps me guessing. The mines also delivered plenty of ghosts, which gave me 7 more solar essences. Not quite enough for an iridium band yet, but I'll need some more stone for Robin's quest anyway, so I'm not done mining anytime soon. Day 108 started with a semi-unlucky morning, but I wasn't letting that stop me. I set out looking for the artifact spots to hoe up, hoping for some progress on my museum collection. After that, I headed into the mines with 3 goals: stone for Robin's quest, artifact troves, and solar essences for my iridium band. Luck might not have been on my side, but the mines delivered an unexpected treat, a new trinket that boosts my combat abilities. This is going to be super useful in future Skull Cavern runs. Although there wasn't as many ghosts as I had hoped for more solar essence, this mining trip was still a huge success. Between the stone, loot, and that trinket, it's one of the most productive unlucky days I have had. It's Christmas on day 109 in the game, and coincidentally the day after Christmas as I'm recording this. I needed to grab a gift for Willie before heading into town, but I also didn't want to waste the entire day. As long as I got to town before 2 p.m., I'd be fine. Before heading to the Feast of Winter Star, I swung by the artifact spots and found an ancient seed. A surprising find this late in the game. And from there, I went into the mines to squeeze in some time before the festival. The mines delivered again. I found another, even stronger, fairy box trinket. With my inventory full of goodies, I left the mines at 1 p.m. to make sure I made it to the feast on time. At the winter feast, I made the rounds and talked to everyone. I love seeing Linus and Leo at the mayor's table this year. What a wholesome moment. For Willie's gift, I gave him a diamond. Meanwhile, Elliot was my gift giver and he gave me some wine. That's a pretty classy move, Elliot. Penny asked me what I really wanted for Christmas and I told her a book. Hopefully she can pass on the word to the bookseller so I can find my last one soon. After the feast, I headed home and spent the evening decorating the tiny nook I'd built. I kept accidentally trying to use this as a doorway, so I decided to turn it into a craft room and it might help me realize what's the door and what's a room. Now it's filled with everything I need to be creative and it's officially my favorite cozy corner in the house. Day 110 started with a guilty realization. I've definitely been ignoring my animals. When I went to check on them, I found the silo completely out of hay. Oops. I spent the morning making it up to them, restocking the silo, and ensuring everyone was fed and happy again. It was a lucky day, so I grabbed my geodes and headed to Clint's, hoping to find the 2 missing museum items. But of course, Clint was off, celebrating his birthday on Ginger Island. Priorities, Clint. With no new geode cracking happening today, I put my things back and decided to make another run around the map for artifact spots. On the way, I stopped at the traveling cart and picked up yet another furniture catalog because clearly one isn't enough. After scouting the map, I headed into the mines, focusing on the hotter floors where the Omni and Magma geodes are more common. Basalt is my priority now, even though there aren't any opportunities for solar essence down here. I mined well into the night and headed home on my trusty horse at the very late hour. As I rode, I swear I saw UFOs in the sky. Could it be my alien buddy coming back to say hi? Or is that a government drone? Day 111 greeted me with a not so great luck day. Figures. I decided to save my geodes for tomorrow. No matter the luck, it's the last day after all, so tomorrow or never. Today I'm heading into the mines to hunt for magma geodes and stock up on stone for Robin's quest. Honestly, it was a lot like yesterday, but with one cool twist. I stumbled upon a layout I had never seen before in the mines. Even over 200 days in, Stardew is still surprising me. Unfortunately, the level didn't have much that I needed, but it was still refreshing to see something new. Sometimes it's the little surprises that make the grind worth it. Day 112, the final day of year 2. The pressure was on. Could I wrap up my remaining goals? First up, turning in all of my geodes and crushables to Clint to see if I could snag those last museum items. I equipped both of my lucky rings and headed to Clint's workshop. My first magma geode pulled the basalt. Finally, one of the missing pieces for the museum. With that done, I realized I could trade my Omni geodes in the desert for artifact troves, so I set out to give it a shot. Before leaving, I ran around town, looking for artifact dig spots, but nothing turned up. Over in the desert, I traded for 1 trove, only to realize I was just 1 Omni geode short of getting a second trove. Classic. After more running around, I found 1 more Omni geode and made another desert trip. Cam's definitely earning her paycheck today with all this back and forth. Back at Clint's, I opened the troves and they failed me. No luck on the last artifact. With museum goals at a standstill, I turned my focus to Robin's stone quest. I hit the mines, targeting levels with ghosts to farm solar essence for an iridium band in year 3. The stone count crept up, but midnight came fast, and at the end of the night, I was only 10 stone short. Then it hit me. My overly full quarry had been sitting there this whole time. I sped to the quarry, I grabbed the last 10 pieces, and rushed back home just in time to avoid passing out. Quest completed on the final day. As I drifted to sleep, Grandpa visited me one last time, and he told me he was proud and that he'd be moving on for good now. It was a bittersweet ending to year 2, one filled with progress, a little bit of chaos, and the promise of more adventures to come. And that wraps up year 2 in Stardew Valley. Thank you so much for joining me on this chaotic, cozy journey. Year 3 is just around the corner, and trust me, there's so much more to explore. Will I finally hit level 100 in the Skull Caverns? Will my slime hutch become a thriving empire? You'll have to come back and see. And hey, if you want to hang out live, catch me over on Kick, where I'm always up to something fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what your favorite moment was from year 2. I will see you next time. Bye, guys.